You're listening to the Belmar Bytes podcast, brought to you by Belmar Consulting. Welcome back to the Belmar Bytes podcast, and I am really excited today to have Wendi Campbell, President and CEO of Junior Achievement BC. Wendi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Well, we have known each other through our organizations for some time, but you and I haven't known each other maybe quite as long as our organizations have. But we had a chance to have you out at a dinner we hosted recently, and in preparation for this conversation, we had a chance to connect and just get to know each other a little bit more. But uh, really, the purpose of these conversations is to share your story, share, in this case, JABC's story with our community. And so I want to just kick us off today, really just by asking if you can just introduce yourself and give a little background on yourself and what you're doing, and then from there we'll get into some other questions.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, Scott. As I said, thank you very much for inviting me. You're right. We've only met in person once, but I've had the pleasure of working with many members of the Belmar team. And so it's really lovely to be on this end of the camera today. Thanks very much. So, as you said, my name is Wendi Campbell. I'm the president and CEO of JABC, Junior Achievement of BC. Junior Achievement is a nonprofit that delivers hands on programs in work readiness, financial health, and entrepreneurship to youth across BC, but we're also across Canada. And of course, there is Junior Achievement Worldwide. And Junior Achievement Worldwide, because I imagine you have some worldwide audience members here, reaches 23 million youth across the globe annually and is in over 100 countries. So, and fun fact, Junior Achievement actually started in Boston, and BC was the first charter outside of the US. And so we're kind of proud to have been around already for 70 years in BC.
That's amazing. I
Mm,
didn't realize that BC was the first
yeah.
in Canada, and
Well, not
so
even the
just
first in Canada, the first internationally outside of the
oh,
US.
really? Oh, well,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah,
Amazing.
both Canada and internationally.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And 70 years. That's I didn't know the organization had been around that long.
Mhm.
So, in terms of the uh, the mission that you have, and really I often like to ask this question: what is the problem that you're trying to
Yeah.
solve? How
Yeah.
would you respond to that?
I like the way you framed that question a lot. We really stick to our swim lane. And I'll say it again, we deliver education through for children's grade 3 through 12 in three pillars: financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and career readiness. But the mission, like what problem are we trying to solve? Well, the goal is for young people to be able to make more informed financial choices because you can graduate high school without knowing anything about credit, about taxes, about investing, etc. It's just not part of the school curriculum. And when young people graduate and become young adults, these are, I equate them to like swimming lessons. These are life skills. These are really, really important for an individual young person to really, I don't know, show them opportunities that are available to them by making informed financial decisions, but also avoiding some serious pitfalls of making the wrong decisions as you move into adulthood. And so, what is our reason for being? We really strive to educate young people so that they're ready to graduate and make informed financial decisions early in their adulthood.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
Hmm.
awesome. And so so within the province of British Columbia, how many
Yeah.
students would you be impacting on an annual
Yeah.
basis?
We do over 90,000 learning experiences for young people annually, which is quite a remarkable number. We're in every corner of the province. We reach students virtually, but most of the time we reach students in class. So a teacher will invite JABC into their classroom, and largely our programs are delivered by volunteers. We have a roster of about 500 plus volunteers every year who go into classrooms and deliver these programs, and then they bring their own experiences into the classroom, and It's an interesting and it's a very highly experiential experience for students. That's a little bit different. It's also very easy for educators because educators, we come with all of the workbooks, the facilitator guides, the materials, the volunteers, and the curriculum is very much aligned to the grades that are appropriate, as I said, for grades 3 all the way through 12. So we really shape our programs for the students and we deliver them, as I said, virtually or in the classroom, largely in the classroom.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Mhm.
And so, just to try to understand this a little better, so if I was if I had a child that was in say third grade and
Mm.
they were working their way through to 12th grade, would they interact with JABC throughout their educational career, or they is it very much dependent on the teacher and their willingness to bring that curriculum into the class?
Yeah, you've honed right in on that. It's very much dependent on the teacher. The teacher's the one that invites JABC into his or her classroom to deliver these programs. And so, yeah, it really depends on this teacher's engagement.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Um, so while I'm thinking of this, I mean, if a teacher or an educator was interested in learning more, what's the best way for them to get connected?
Oh, so obviously we have a lot of material on our website, but it's kind of one thing to hit a website and go through a whole bunch of material. We also have lots of just what kind of one-on-one outreach to teachers, through schools, through principals and superintendents across the province. And so we have a ton of material available out there. And we have, our team is always ready and willing to reach out and have those conversations one-on-one to amplify what's already on the website.
Yeah, okay. So Google JABC and they're going to find your website and they
They're gonna
can
find a lot of material. Yeah, yeah, but
navigate
contact us
through that.
so we can talk you through it. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Um, Maybe just stepping outside of the work that you're doing day to day, what is your background and what brought you to JABC?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I've only, joined the not-for-profit sector a couple of years ago. I actually came from 3 decades long career in financial services and professional services, and, as a part of that career, I hired young people from campus, like hundreds and hundreds of students into professional service, roles. And it was always apparent to me how critical financial literacy was and how successful students could be with some good backing. And so I kind of had this passion for and experience in, young people launching their careers, having good sound financial backing to start. And so that kind of set me on a path. I also decades and decades ago already started volunteering for junior achievement when I was working in my other role. And so it was just a really lovely and natural transition to come over and be part of this organization because I've have held it in high regard for literally decades. Not to mention that, and this is a fun fact, little story here. My husband, was a participant in junior achievement in high school, and I remember when he first met, he was so shaped by the company program which he took, really set himself up for being an entrepreneur, and he credits junior achievement a lot with that. And so it kind of had, resonated with me like literally over the decades. And, stepping into this role when I did, it was interesting. I met so many people and they always say to me, "Oh, I did junior achievement in high school." And I'm like, "Yeah." People have a really good recollection and memory and good feelings about their experience with junior achievement, especially when they reflect on their high school experience.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
I love it. It's interesting just to hear from you in terms of stepping out of the corporate world, taking all of those experiences and coming into the not-for-profit world. Now I can think of probably a dozen leaders that we've worked with as an organization over the last couple of years that have done something similar. I think it's just an amazing thing to take that time and that experience and that knowledge and bring that into an organization where you can then just amplify that knowledge across your team and then across the tens of thousands of participants that are involved with the organization on an annual basis. So that's really cool. I applaud you for doing that,
Well,
and
honestly, Scott, it's a privilege to be able to do it. It really is. And I think, I feel very strongly about what we do and the mission. And I do believe that the learning experiences that we deliver are really important to an individual student. And then I also believe that they're really collectively important to our province, our economy, because they multiply, they
Yeah.
compound.
Yeah, they sure do. Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to put it, and just the litmus test in terms of your husband, his experience, and just how that's had, by the sounds of it, a multiplying effect in his
Yeah,
life,
yeah.
over the years is, just such a great connection between sort of him and you and the organization in terms of what it's provided in the community.
Right.
Uh, One of the things that, I like to do in these conversations is, we most of the audience that would listen to this are executives, in charitable or nonprofit organizations, and, many of them are listening to this because we've shared it with them, and they're on some type of journey in terms of developing their organization and building their organization, and we may get into this a little bit, in our conversation later, uh, the fact that JABC is using Salesforce, but I'd love to hear from you just some of the things that you're working on right now in the organization that, may have short-term effect, but are going to have some longer-term effect, some legacy effect, for the next generation of kids that work and consume JABC content.
Yeah. So when I joined the organization, we were about 18 months, 2 years into our Salesforce journey. So I wasn't here on implementation, but I was definitely here on culture change and adopting Salesforce as our single source of truth. And it really has become exactly that. It has been an enabler to tie our different teams together and to speak a common language and share information far more efficiently than offsite systems or slips of paper or who knows what. So, our development team, our programs team, our operation team, our community engagement and communications teams, they're all fantastic and they're all doing great work. But they rely on Salesforce as the single source of truth to kind of communicate, certainly with one another and share data in a very efficient way. And so, when I started with the organization, I was told by the board, we've just gone through a Salesforce implementation, and sometimes you think, oh gosh, but this was probably one of the most successful Salesforce implementations that we've experienced. And I can say it, continues to elevate our operations, our efficiencies, and our collaboration as a team.
Yeah, well, that's great, and thanks for sharing that, and it's exciting to hear when customers are
Yeah.
successful. I guess for me, when I think of, making an investment, be it, financial investment or, investment of time, in an organization, there needs to be some kind of dividend that's paid for, in exchange for that investment. And so I guess as you think of the organization and where you are today, and, maybe you can speak a little bit to your strategic plan or how you see the organization continuing to evolve. Where do you see the organization going in the next 3 to 5 years?
So, in terms of our growth prospects as an organization, I think that we have a huge potential. So, yes, we're already reaching 90,000 plus students across the province annually, and we've had a really exponential growth rate since COVID. But, there's still so much opportunity out there. We're only in roughly a quarter of all the schools in this province. So we have an opportunity to continue to grow and to continue to get the message out to more and more young people. And that kind of opportunity is rather boundless, actually. I actually also think that, financial literacy is more important than ever for young people. So that creates an even greater opportunity. Look at the economy that our young people are graduating into. We have data at our fingertips that it says um, most two-thirds of Canadians are $200 away from financial instability. That's pretty, scary. We have about 100,000 fewer entrepreneurs than we did 20 years ago. We know our data tells us that JA grads are 3 times less likely to overspend and 50% more likely to start a business. and three-quarters say that JA helped them stay in school. So in this kind of environment of a very, very tight job market for our young people, these skills like are more important than ever. And there's one other element to this that I think is really important. There's so much misinformation out there when it comes to finances, financial literacy right now in social media. And so young people tend to gravitate that. If they don't have information, they fill the void with misinformation, typically from social media. And, speaking of a single source of truth, we want to be like a good source of truth about what's sound advice, what's real, what can you trust, who can you go to for real advice. And so I think, the combination of the economic environment, the proliferation of misinformation in social media about financial literacy, it makes, what we're teaching even more relevant and even more important. So when you asked your original question, it was a long-winded answer to say, what's your opportunity? I think there's a ton of opportunity and increased relevancy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting, uh, way you frame that I'm in some respects, I'm so grateful that I'm at the stage in my life, in my career where I
Right.
am, like, looking at the current, landscape, but, I think uh, adults and professionals and leaders, like, we have a responsibility to equip the next generation. I think when I look at it, the rate of change is so fast, and not to get into an AI discussion because that's just a wild discussion to have. But just I think as you described it, that just there's so much change and there's so much uncertainty and you labeled it as misinformation. There's so much information. What is real, what is not, and so to have an organization like JA that is communicating uh, you know, uh, relevant, very like practical, relevant, like life altering in some cases, skills and indoctrinating kids with like the right skill set, financial literacy. I mean, man, it's if there was ever a time it was needed, it certainly is now. And so it's exciting also just to hear those statistics in terms of the success that participants are having
Yeah.
in these various programs. And that
You know,
leads me to,
I'll
but
just
no,
jump in
please go
and
ahead.
say one other thing. Like, these lessons, they don't have to be onerous or difficult. They're actually quite fun. Like, they're taught in a very sometimes a gamified or role-playing way in the
Yeah.
classroom, and then, students can really lean into the experience. Like, we're talking about what's a realistic monthly budget? What are needs versus wants? We talk about bank accounts and setting up credit and how to get a mortgage. Like in one class, students are actually given, a portfolio of investment funds, and they kind of manage that and compete with one another to see, how do you actually manage a portfolio? And those kinds of experiences really are very real life, first of all. Students can really connect with them because they, are looking and living it. And I think, so the learning can be very fun and engaging too.
Yeah, yeah. No, by
Yeah.
by the sounds of it, and I think just another thought you've prompted here is just in terms of entrepreneurship. I didn't know that stat in Canada that Canada is 100,000 less entrepreneurs today than it did in the past. And, you could almost argue that it's so much easier to be an entrepreneur today than it was 20 years ago. Like, there's just so many opportunities, but, um, do you have some perspective on why that is? Why are kids hesitant to become an entrepreneur? Is there
Oh,
do you have any data behind that?
I don't have the data behind, the reasons for such a drop in entrepreneurship, but I mean, it's a complex world, as you already pointed out, right? So I think that's probably one of them. There's, tremendous financial pressures and a lot of uncertainty. And I think, to become an entrepreneur, you need to have a certain risk mindset and you need to understand that. And so, maybe if you don't start young and those kind of skills are honed and your interest is piqued, it might be a little bit of a difficult ride. We, our flagship program at Junior Achievement Worldwide, it's called the Company Program, and it is an entrepreneurship program. It's a multi-week program running 12 to 16 weeks for high school students. And what we do is we bring together small groups, cohorts of, students, 6, 10, 12 students, under the mentorship of a business leader. And those students come together and they ideate on a business product or service, and then they raise the funds for it to finance it. They actually build the business plan. Different team members take on the role of CMO or CEO or CFO so they could experience kind of different parts of the business. They actually then build and sell the product and, return the funds, to the original shareholders at the end of the day. So it's that full cycle entrepreneurial experience over many weeks. And students kind of come out of that and go, oh my gosh, like, I really learned something about business here. I learned, well, first of all, teamwork with my fellow team members. I learned, what can fail, what are points of failure, what are points of success, how do we work together? And, they kind of come through that experience. They might not all want to be entrepreneurs, but maybe they decided, oh, I am great at marketing. I love that element. Or I really like working with people. I can see myself leading or pulling the team together. And it's a fantastic learning experience, and it's one that, we have, it's the kind of the one where lots of people that I meet say, "Oh, I remember doing that."
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that program. I know
Yeah.
you have other programs that that you offer because I know our team has been involved
Yeah.
in a number of them, and I actually was on a call earlier today with uh, one of my colleagues who I mentioned to him that we were having this conversation today, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? I actually talked to a student. I think it was on Friday,
Oh,
and so he had a there was a connection through JABC to a student, and this student had reached out, and they've been collaborating on an idea, and I think one of the I don't know if you call it a flagship program or just one of the
yeah.
really popular programs is your TechWorks. So just can you speak a little bit to what happens at TechWorks and when is it happening
Yeah.
next?
So we have, programs that are short, like maybe they're 1 hour virtual experiences. And then we have these more in depth, comprehensive experiences. Like I just told you about the company program. TechWorks is another very much full on, uh, in depth experience for high school students where we have a full day symposium for several hundreds of high school students to get together. The next one's coming up in April. And this one is focused more around tech careers. We'll start with a fabulous keynote. Last year, the keynote was on AI, of course, but this person just blew us all away. And then the students are, broken up into groups and they go into workshops for the full day. And so it's not, learning on the, you know, on the on the chalkboard, if you will. It's actually hands-on learning and touching and experiencing different technologies and how you might work with that. So it's really sparking an interest, perhaps in a tech-related career. And yeah, it's like we've been running TechWorks now for 8 years, and it's one of our, I would say, I would agree with you, flagship programs as well.
Yeah, cool. So
Mhm.
April, what's the date? April what?
Last week of April, the 28th.
Okay,
Yeah.
so April 28th. So
Uh-huh.
if somebody wants to learn more about TechWorks, I'm sure they can find
That is a
details.
full day immersive in-person experience, and we're
Yeah.
grateful to host that at a campus downtown this year. Mhm.
Oh, that's cool. I
Mhm.
I know that, we've had a number of folks from our team over the years
Yeah.
participate. Matt, I know, has been there, Laxinder, Tom,
Yeah.
and others have participated in that and,
They've run
have
those
always just come.
workshops for us. They've run
Yeah,
those hands-on workshops, which students
yeah,
love.
yeah, and they've always come back from that just so energized because it's been just such a fun day, giving back, to these up and coming entrepreneurs and kids that are just really eager to learn, and so
Oh my
it's
gosh,
been fun.
and the students are so bright and so
Mm,
engaged. Really
yeah,
impressive.
yeah, yeah. I had somebody ask me a number of years ago. just when thinking about sort of the younger generation and some of the stereotype of the younger generation just being, addicted to their phone, or, their work ethic isn't as good as it was when we were growing up. And, everything's relative. And I said, we have had so many young people come through our organization, and I have great optimism for the future just based on the cohort of of people that are, much younger than me. They've come, right out of university or college, and they're really smart. They're very engaging. They're very thoughtful. And so, I think it's programs like the ones that JABC offer that just help to equip kids, because there's so many opportunities, and there's, the you can almost, get fatigued from having to make so many decisions, because there's just the option set is so much larger today than it was, 20 years ago, that, I think it's just critical to keep these programs moving forward, and by the sounds of it, there's infinite growth potential in terms of, where JABC can go in the future, which is really exciting. Um, are there how many in total? How many programs does the organization run or offer?
Well, so we have a suite of programs from, as I said before, grades 3 through 12. They're very age appropriate, and each one is aligned with the BC curriculum, ministry curriculum. And the experiences run from, as I mentioned just briefly before, they can be a shorter, like a virtual 1 hour experience, but most of the programs are run in the classrooms where our business leader would go into the classroom, probably 3 or 4 classes in a row, like over 3 or 4 weeks, and deliver a 1 hour session. So that's kind of our core programs. And then we have these capstone programs that run over many, many weeks or months where students have a really, really in depth experience. So we have like a pretty comprehensive suite of programs from each one of those age groups, and then each one of the kind of duration or type of experience as well, all outlined on the website, all explained by, what's appropriate for each grade level.
Yeah. So, what I'm hearing is there is something for everybody.
Literally, there's something for everybody, and there's something for every teacher too. And I do want to emphasize that this is not extra work for the teacher. This is a wonderful opportunity where the teacher does not need to, build the materials and create the workshops and the facilitator guides. We have all of that. And so we can come into the classroom and deliver that experience very, very seamlessly.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. Well, Wendy, thank you for doing this. This has been a really thoughtful conversation. I've learned some things that I didn't know about JBC, and it certainly reinforces in my mind why our team has been so engaged in working with and working for your organization, but also in support of the organization. And so I'm going to have to get involved, and I'll talk with Matt, and we'll get. I got to get myself involved in this, because this sounds like it's a lot of fun.
You know what,
And
Scott? We would love to have you in the classroom. I have no doubt that you can help kids get really smart about money and help them make informed decisions on earning, spending, investments, and savings. So yeah, we would love that. Thank you.
awesome, Wendy. If people want to get in touch, we've already shared. They can go to your website or Google JABC.
Hmm.
But if somebody wanted to reach out to you and have a conversation, what's the best way for them to
Yeah,
connect with you?
again, all of our contact information is probably easiest just check it out on the website as opposed to me spelling it out right here. And For sure, get in touch with me directly or one of our wonderful program managers or our volunteer coordinator, depending on, what kind of engagement you would like to have.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Fantastic.
Wendy, I think we're gonna wrap on that.
All
And so,
right.
thank you for doing this. I'm really grateful for your time. And if anybody wants to learn more, Google JABC, and you can connect with Wendy or someone on her team. And I know they'll be really happy to have a conversation with you. So, Wendy,
Great.
thanks for doing this.
Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
This has been another episode of Belmar Bytes, brought to you by Belmar Consulting. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or on our website at belmarcloud.com.